Hey guys, Apav 5 here, and today's December 3rd, which marks the 15-year anniversary of the release of Jak and Daxter and the Precursor Legacy. Now, if you've watched my channel, you know that I really like the Jak and Daxter series. They've actually been in my banner for a long time now. That might be changing, not because I don't like Jak and Daxter as much. They're still my favorite video game series. It's just that banner doesn't look. It was sort of thrown together, as you can tell, with all the different squares and just things in there. So that might change sometime. But anyways, back to Jak and Daxter. This game was either the first game that I ever played, or it's the game that got me into gaming because it's the first game I remember playing. With its story and just everything in it, I remember playing in it a lot. Me and my cousin, whose YouTube channel is Death Games, you've probably seen him in quite a few of my videos if you've looked at him through the years. We used to take turns playing it a lot and almost make up our own adventures because we never really got past the first section of the game. Now, this game is an open world platformer and fighter. It's quite interesting. It reminds me of a Zelda game without the RPG elements. I don't know. I played it a lot as a little person, and I still play it today. As you can tell by the YouTube Let's Play I did 3 years ago. It was quite a long time ago when I did my first playthrough of the original Jak and Daxter. I'm not really sure if I would recommend going back to it though, and watching it, because my audio was really screwed up and I didn't even record it in HD because I didn't know how my PVR worked.
Oh wait, that means I'm probably going to beat this game today. This is going to be my first completed Let's Play, guys. Yeah!
But it is a really fun game, and today I would like to focus on the entire series because I've done the trilogy, but there's even more to it, and I thought today would be a cool day to cover this gaming series because 15 years, guys. I'm old. Now, if we look over in the section of my favorite PS2 games, yes, I have a section for favorite PS2 games, you see my series of Jak and Daxter games here, which we will be going through today. But they didn't just make PS2 games. If we look up here, well, obviously the remastered version on the PS3, which is what I used to do all those playthroughs on, they also made PSP games. Now, I'm not going to show you those just yet because I want to show these off one by one, but yes, there was Jak and Daxter games on the PSP. So you've probably heard of the original trilogy if you're been on my channel, but if you're new to my channel, the original Jak and Daxter was very kid-friendly and had a pretty interesting plot. There wasn't that many cutscenes, but it was just enough to keep you wanting to go on to the next mission to hear what was going to happen. And again, this was in 2001 when open world games weren't as polished nowadays, and this was still a really good game. It wasn't like there was a surplus of open world games, especially open world collectathon platformers that actually worked really well. And there was so much stuff in here, it made you want to keep going back and discover more. I've, again, done multiple videos on this game. None of them really too good, but I feel like I've talked about it throughout the years enough for you guys to get the idea. Just so you know, this game influenced me so much that one of my senior pictures is literally me playing Jak and Daxter and the Precursor Legacy on the old TV that I used to play. Here's another picture of me and my friend Parker playing it back when we were like, I don't even know how old we were. Bizarrely enough, since I wasn't allowed to own T games till I was 11, I didn't play Jak 2 till I was like 12. I didn't even remember like to go back to the Jak and Daxter series. I remember in Blockbuster when I was like 9 or something, seeing Jak 2 and Jak 3 on the counters and like getting a little upset because Daxter wasn't in the title and the games were rated T, so I couldn't play them. I'm like, why would they screw up a series like that? So when I was 10 or 11, I actually played Daxter on the PSP before I ever played Jak 2 or Jak 3. When I get another PSP 2000 or 3000 that works better, I'm thinking about doing a playthrough of this. Now, this case isn't the original case. As you can tell, it's sort of a mock-up, and that is because this was back when GameStop was just selling them without the cases. When people switched to the PSP, people were still used to sort of throwing out cases because the Game Boy cases just came in cardboard, and we all had the mindset, oh yeah, we just throw them out. This is actually the original case that I put this game in. It's a PSP UMD case, but all I did was get the black and white copy machine we had and copy the disc and put it on the front, and then sort of copy part of the disc and put it on the end label. I just did this mock-up here today, and I'm so happy I got it because it looks much better at least. Now, Daxter, is it considered a prequel? I think that's what a prequel is. It takes place in between Jak and Daxter and the Precursor Legacy and Jak 2. It's the story of sort of what was Daxter doing in those 2 years between those two games. And it didn't really spoil anything for me when I played it, but I didn't understand the ending. The ending was very abrupt because I had never played Jak 2, and this game was already expecting you to have played the games. Like, why would you skip that? And when I first saw someone beat it, it was actually my friend's older brother who I let play it and then wouldn't let me have a turn because, you know, when you have brothers, apparently it's sharing's illegal or something. So since I loaned it to him, he's like, no, you can't play it because it's my turn to play it. And I'm like, it's my game though. So, I don't know. He also didn't want to like play it with me if I got a turn. So basically I just watched him beat the game. I did eventually beat the game by myself, but that was just an annoying thing that I don't understand about siblings. Jak 2, which came out in 2003, is sort of like I don't know how to explain it, but I played this when I was 12, and it was awesome. This is my favorite game of all time. I'll continue to say that. And it's not because the gameplay is specifically better than Jak 3. It was just the jump from the first Jak and Daxter to the second one that this really blew my mind. And also, that I enjoyed the story the most on this. This is what I think I remember as the Jak story the most. Because it was when he started to talk, when you sort of learned about what was going on with the plot. And in Jak 3, I think they sort of screwed up the plot, which was rectified after Jak 3, and I'll cover that in a minute. Now, in the playthroughs, I think I've mentioned this before, where I once played this taking turns with my friend's little brother, JD, because for some reason this friend always fell asleep when we had sleepovers, so I would end up playing the game with his little brother who stayed up later. And we made it to the Baron. And when the Baron is throwing tornado things at you, for some reason, just when I'm not paying attention, I was sitting there holding the controller. I said to myself, like under my breath, oh, a little spinning tornado action, eh?
Just a little flaming tornado action?
And me and him just cracked up to that for like a half an hour straight. For some reason, it was the funniest thing ever, just how I said it or whatever. And that's one of the biggest memories I actually have with this series, next to playing the Precursor Legacy with my cousin. Jak 3 is the game we know as my most recent playthrough. I think it's my favorite part of the series because it's not as hard, so it was easier to do a playthrough on. But it was also when I sort of understood more about what I was doing. My only problem with my new Let's Plays is just the microphone isn't that great. But I quite liked this playthrough that I did. And as for this game, it's easier to replay. And the story is decent. It's not my favorite story out of the series, but it is decent, so it is fun to replay and just watch it. Because something about Naughty Dog games, because this is what they did before Uncharted and The Last of Us, is that the stories always progressively are good. especially now when they're practically a company based on their stories. And this was sort of in between their phase of, do we want cartoony platformer or story? And I think this was a perfect mix. So what fixed the story situation for me, and was actually a really good game, was Jak X Combat Racing. Now throughout the Jak and Daxter storyline, Jak has always seemed very interested in racing, so they made a whole entire combat racing game based off of the Jak and Daxter series. And this is actually a really fun game with pretty cool story to it. The only problem, and why this is the only Jak and Daxter game I haven't beaten, except for a game that I hardly consider a Jak and Daxter game, we're one game away from that one. But the only reason I haven't beaten this is because it corrupts its data sometimes. Some people say just play it on a fat PS2, but I'm pretty sure I've had the same problem on a fat PS2. What happens is just sometimes while I'm playing it, the game freezes while it's saving, and then if you restart the game, the file's corrupted and you have to start all over. I've seen the beginning of this a million times, and I've seen bits and pieces of the cutscenes from animated music videos that I've edited and other people have edited. But again, I haven't been able to play through it, but it's really fun. I actually did a random video years ago, which I actually still find kind of funny, when I recorded this, and just for fun, I wanted to get some gameplay of it out there, and the points ended up with the number 666, like the moment I died or something. So that was kind of funny. Also, this had online capability. And just so you know, Jak After Jak 2 was really angsty, and this game really suits him with the explosions. Okay, I've been holding it off for far too long now. This is the only other Jak and Daxter game I haven't beaten, and it's a decent game, but I don't think it's a Jak and Daxter game. Here we go, Jak and Daxter and the Lost Frontier. Yes, he's flying a ship on the cover for some reason. I've known Jak as a racing, on-the-ground kind of guy. The only time he flew was with his special powers, and then you put, like, planes in it for some reason. And that's like half this game. It's a cool mechanic, and it's slightly nostalgic just seeing Jak and Daxter again, because this game was made by High Impact Games in 2009. So this was later in the PS2's lifespan, a lot later. The PS2 came out in 2000 over here, and this game came out like 4 years after the last Jak. So this was definitely a really cool thing when I first got it, and I never was like depressed from it. It was just looking back on it after I played it for a while, like, this isn't a Jak and Daxter game. The first place you start off with, it's like a big ship that you can roam around, and there's a map, and I'm like, okay, this is going to be the world I'm going to be able to play in. But it's not. You're quickly taken out of that world, and there isn't really that many places you can go back to. And one of the most important things of a Jak and Daxter game is how open world it is. I loved exploring just every little detail in these games, and this one didn't really have it because you quickly went over stuff and didn't really go back as much. I think this would have been a fun game if it just wasn't titled Jak and Daxter and had Jak and Daxter in it. It's pretty cool, but it's not a Jak and Daxter game to me, and that's the most depressing thing about it. Now, they did utilize eco a bit more. In the first Jak and Daxter, there was all different colors of eco. Blue made you fast, green healed you, orange, I think, was fireballs, or was that red? You know, basically they all give you different powers. Halfway through, I start getting a little lost because they introduce more eco later in the game, and I've only played the end of the game maybe 2 or 3 times. But in Jak and Daxter and the Lost Frontier, they actually utilize the eco more often, which is pretty cool. The eco has different abilities, which is something that I would like to see if they ever make a Jak 4, and by they I mean Naughty Dog, not High Impact Games. Now, the cool thing about this Jak and Daxter is they also put it on the PSP, which I played this more on the PSP, and it's actually pretty cool. just being able to see Jak and Daxter on the PSP. Something that I always tried to do when I had my PSP was find a PS2 emulator that I could emulate Jak 2 on. I can't even find that for PC still. I don't want to use an emulator. I like collecting, as you can tell here, but I really wanted to play the original Jak and Daxter's on my PSP, which I finally got that on the PlayStation Vita. Now this is something that I think was only made for me. Everyone I know really doesn't like this because the frame rate is meh, and that's their main complaint. They think the frame rate is game killing, but I can deal with it. I quite like playing Jak and Daxter on my PS Vita, and just that fact sort of is fine for me. It would be nice if this was as good as all the other collector edition of games on the Vita, but it works for me, and I think that's just because I'm such a big fan of the series. So now we're at present day, and we have these collection things of the Jak and Daxter series, and one of the coolest things that I just found out about this is that it's 3D compatible, and I just got a PlayStation 3D TV, and it's just the coolest thing playing through my favorite video game series in 3D. So that was the Jak and Daxter series, I guess you could say. I still don't really want to count The Lost Frontier as part of the series. Also, one of the biggest problems with it is the story. It doesn't really line up for me, and again, that's one of the biggest reasons I love Jak and Daxter is the story. So I don't know about that. Some people have also been wanting to forget about the current series and start like a reboot like Ratchet and Clank did, and I really wouldn't want that to happen. So whoever, if anyone's working on a new Jak and Daxter game, I really hope it's a Jak 4. Since Jak 3 ended with, I think it was Samos saying that there will be many more adventures ahead, or something like that. It's always in my mind, and today I forgot it, obviously. But Jak 3 sort of ended semi on a cliffhanger. Jak X actually has a better closing to the series, but I never can beat it because it corrupts my files. I would have loved if one of these collector editions had Jak X in it so I could finally play through it, but I don't think that will ever happen at this point. So just a couple years ago I've been trying to collect Jak and Daxter merch, which there isn't much of it, and when it is, it's very expensive, just statues. And I was going to get actually a $200 statue of Jak for like the 30th anniversary of Naughty Dog, and I didn't get it because when I pre-ordered it, and I didn't get it within like the first 2 months it was released. Like I waited forever for the thing, and I never got it. It never shipped, and the reason I bought it was also because I wanted to be one of the first persons to make an unboxing of it. So I ended up canceling that order. That was really frustrating to me. Every time I've ever pre-ordered something on Amazon, I never end up getting it because they sold out. I don't know why they're allowed to accept pre-orders when they've sold out of the product. But anyways, here is something that I managed to get for like $30 or less. I've showed this before and I made a sort of a poor review of it, and I wanted to delete that video, but some people actually liked it for some reason, so it's still up. Jak and Daxter Mini-Mates. Now, these are like the Jak 2 figures, and I really liked Jak 2, how Jak looked in Jak 2. That's sort of the Jak, I'm saying Jak way too much, that I like the design of most, so I really liked this idea. Apparently it was like a Toys R Us exclusive or something, but yeah, it's a really cool just thing. The only problem with it is like Daxter's hand fell off in the packaging, and I was sort of collecting this. It's just very average for something that I spent like $30 on, but the prices have been like, I think the prices really skyrocketed the last time I checked Amazon, people trying to sell this, so it might have been a good investment instead of a collector thing. But there you have it. That's, I believe, everything I have to say about Jak and Daxter for now. If you would like to watch some of my most recent Jak and Daxter videos, at the end of the Jak 2 playlist, there's my 150 subscriber special where I drive through Jak 2, and I also have a Jak 3 playlist where I obviously talk a lot about Jak 3 because I was playing through Jak 3, and I have a whole entire Jak and Daxter animated music video channel, which is sort of unofficial because I don't make any money on it, and obviously the music is sort of, but it's just for entertainment, and if I do have copyright problems, I'll take them down. Since I don't monetize them, the only people making money off the videos would be the people who claim them. So hopefully the people who claim all those videos don't take them down, because it's really not harming anything. It's like free advertisement, and they can claim them if they want. Just keep my videos up on there. So look down in the description for all that stuff, and I'll see you guys later.
What? What? I've never seen that. And Naughty Dog didn't make Ratchet and Clank. Did they get in trouble for putting that in the game? Or is that just in the remastered version? Oh my god, there's a poster of Ratchet and Clank and Jak and Daxter.